Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for Hulu's Reasonable Doubt, Season 2, Episode 8, Change the Game. So we open up the episode exactly where we left off last week with Jax stopping Lewis from leaving and then professing her love for him, letting him know that she loves him, all of him, and she doesn't want to live without him. And basically all is forgiven. They engage in some passionate, intimate acts, and the next morning they're like a brand new couple that's madly in love, like they don't have a care in the world. And honestly, I felt like her accepting that was way too easy. Like she didn't really have time to process that and figure out if that's what she really wanted. And even with Lewis, it was 2 months after when we came into season 2 and he still was not even in the house and in therapy saying that he still was processing the Damon situation, with Jax asking him every day to move back in. And all you would get out of Lewis is, I'll think about it. But hey, I don't have a problem with them making their marriage work. I just wish they would have shown Jax at least weighing her pros and cons and thinking about this entire situation with this baby, because it's not going to be easy. But nevertheless, they're starting their day and Lewis has to check Naima about this top that she has on because it's a little too short, so he's making her go change. And she mentions a program that she has later that day, and Jax forgot all about it. She mentions that they've been so busy and that she can't come get her because she has court. Lewis says he has some gaming thing he has to do. So Spencer comes up with an idea for his sister to be picked up by telling her to text somebody named Kanika. So while Lewis and Jax are skinning and grinning in each other's face, Spencer calls them out like, are y'all good now? And he basically let them know that he peeped that they were fake working late and sleeping on the couch. And they told him they were good. These kids really be knowing what time it is. They just don't say anything. So Jax, she pulls up at work looking all angelic and stuff, looking like a boss, feeling like a boss, when out of nowhere, fine-ass Corey disturbs her little groove, and he's basically apologizing for the night before when he was licking all in her ear and things. And she was like, oh yeah, that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that. Jax was acting like it never even happened. But he was telling her he knew it was unprofessional, he crossed the line, and it won't happen again. And she was like, no problem, no problem. And then he tries it by saying, I know it's going to be tough, but let's try to maintain a professional relationship. And Jax just laughed in his face and walked off. So we go to the conference room where we got the team going over all the key witnesses and how they're going to help with Chanel's case. So we get this real quick scene between Chanel and Baker. That's the person in the cell next to her. She's headed to court and she's telling Baker she'll tell her all about it when she comes back. Is she good? And Baker was like, anytime you can pull the sheet from your own face, it's a good day. And she says, I'll see you later. Now, I guess the purpose of this scene was to show us that Chanel and Baker have become closer, because the last time we saw Baker, Chanel was calling her a fake-ass Cleo and to mind her business, and that her name was Tucker. But we'll get into that later. So when we get in the courtroom, we got Brandy Michaels on the stand, the DV advocate that Corey used in the IG Live. So she pretty much just gives her knowledge and different statistics of what she's learned about DV. And you could tell that Lucy was over there being very attentive and taking notes, trying to see how she can get out of her situation with Peter. But by the end of Brandy's testimony, it seems like it was all in Chanel's favor. So after court, Jax, she goes to pick Spencer up from school and she learns he has a little crush on this girl by the name of Aisha. You are the girl that I never had, and I want to get to know you better. So Jax, she goes to rapping and popping and locking to the little song and embarrassing Spencer. But all the while, she still peeped out Lucy having a whole situation in the parking lot with Peter and their son, John. So later on, we see Jax and Lewis in a therapy session with Dr. Webb, and they are skinning and grinning and basically joined at the hip, which is a big difference from their last session where they were sitting like 50 miles apart from each other. But Jax, she tells Dr. Webb that she decided to give Lewis another chance, and he told both of them that he probably shouldn't be saying that, but he was glad that they did not uncouple. So Dr. Webb wanted to know what were their plans going forward, what was next. So all of a sudden, Jax, she gets an attitude because Lewis needed somebody to talk to, so he told his brother everything that was going down in the marriage and had to remind her that she already talked to her friends about the situation because he done got called out of his name by Sally. So Dr. Webb had to jump in like, forget all of that. What about the baby? How are you guys going to tell your kids? So now the two of them are sitting there looking crazy with nothing to say. So Dr. Webb tells them that he's glad they stayed together, but they have to start working on the staying part of it all and have the hard conversations. And the only way to do that is by working together, not against each other. So Lewis wants to know, where do they start, because it's just so much that they need to get through. So Dr. Webb makes a suggestion, and the next thing we know, Lewis and Jax are both at Tony's door. So the two of them show up as a united front to come up with a plan with Tony on how they're going to make this whole situation work out. So we then find out that Tony is having a boy, and if you ask me, Lewis wanted to do backflips, but he had to contain himself because of Jax. Jax, she got in her feelings a little bit, and she decided to throw some shade over at Tony. So she brings up being a single mom and having 2 baby daddies and not really trying to be funny, just saying that now she's going to have all the help that she needs. Tony, she looks at Lewis up and down with this big smirking smile all up on her face, like she think they getting ready to be sister wives, talking about, I sure am. And that lets me know that Tony is going to be a problem and thinks she's going to be able to get Lewis anytime she wants. And judging by the look on his face, he knew it too. So we see Jax and Lewis with the kids, and Spencer is asking, can he go to Aisha's house, because a lot of the kids that are in the play are going to be over there practicing for their showcase. So Lewis is wondering, will Aisha's parents be there? And Spencer tells him that her dad works from home. So he gets a head nod from Jax, and he decides he will drop him off over there. So we get a random scene with Lucy and an unknown lady talking about Peter. Lucy is telling her how she talked to one of the judges, not really using her name, but trying to find out how she can get a restraining order. Now, I told her she was trying to pay attention in that courtroom when Brandy was talking. So the unknown lady told her it might have been easier if Peter's convictions were for DV, but he was convicted for DUI and gun possession. And she asked Lucy, why won't she just tell John the truth about his dad? She says she refuses because she has made her monster John's superhero. So the lady tells Lucy that it's not her fault, and in the upcoming custody hearing, she has 2 things in her favor. 1, that she's been taking care of John by herself for so long, and 2, that she has this DA position, which goes good in her favor. And Lucy is worried about keeping her job. So I have a feeling that Lucy will probably lose this case against Chanel. We know that Henry has been on her ass this entire time and telling her over and over he cannot afford to lose another case. She will get fired. Then Peter probably will go for full custody of John and win. And then she's going to go ballistic and do something to Peter, needing Jax or Corey's help to get her out of trouble. So we get back in the courtroom, and the defense, they're calling some of their witnesses. We get a handwriting expert, and we get an FBI agent that was investigating JT's charity. So with their testimonies, we learned that the letters that Chanel wrote to Adrian, her signature on there did not match the signature that was on the trust fund for the $30 million or the checks that were written to JT to throw the games, which that was also a shared account for Evan Gerard. And it was established that Chanel never drew from the charity or the other secret accounts. And basically that was another win for the defense. So Jax gets a phone call from Mama Lou inviting her and the family over to the house for lunch on Saturday to meet Kevin. Mama Lou says things are getting hot and heavy between her and Kevin, and she really wants Jax to meet him. And Jax wanted to know, when did you start caring about what I think? And Mama Lou told her she cares now. Jax thought about it and she said she'll be there. Now this is just a little side note that has absolutely nothing to do with anything, and it really doesn't matter, but I'm just curious. Why every time we see Mama Lou or go over there, we're outside? She's in the garden. She's in the trunk getting groceries. Even in the flashback with Jax talking to Lewis, she was outside on the phone. We pick up Naima, we on the porch. The family go over there, we're in the backyard. Like, why can't we go inside of the house? But nevertheless, over inside of Aisha's house, we got Spencer popping and locking and doing all kind of splits like he's Ozone and Turbo, entertaining his peers, and they're loving it and thinking he's the best thing since sliced bread. So we hear Aisha's dad say that he needs to leave for a work emergency, so she listens for him to actually leave and close the door, and then she lets everybody know they can whip out all of their paraphernalia or what have you. And they whip out all kind of stuff from pills to this to that, and Spencer is shocked and appalled. He's like, oh, so there's no parents here? Now he already knows what his dad told him, that you cannot be over there if there's no adult. So she's like, do you want anything? He says he doesn't do that kind of stuff, but he does vape, but his vape pen was left at home. She says she doesn't do any of that either. She vapes, and she's glad that he doesn't do all of that other stuff because it makes her like him even more, and she gives him a kiss on the cheek. So now I guess they go together, okay? Jax, she finally makes it home, and she finds out that Lewis had to work late, so Terrence picked Naima up. So she excuses Naima so she can have a conversation with Terrence. So I'm guessing Jax is really trying to get a feel for what Lewis may have told Terrence, and he pretty much let her know he's not on anybody's side. He loves her, but she scares him because she's a runner. And Jax is like, look, I'm here. I haven't gone anywhere. And he's basically like, yeah, for now. Is she going to be able to handle this whole baby situation? And he wants to know, is she going to be all in? Because if not, she needs to let Lewis know right now, because he'll be damned if he allow her to hurt his brother again. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Terrence, you must have fell and bumped your head. First of all, Lewis is a grown-ass man that decided to stay with his wife even through her mistakes after their separation. He chose to do that. So running to you, crying on your shoulders, trying to put a battery on your back to come and chastise her, in her house telling you what you're not going to tolerate and what you'll be damned? No, sir. And then he tells her, and stop calling it a side baby. It was a break baby that both of you enjoyed. I would have been like, and did. And before Jax could go in and let have, here comes Lewis with his soft ass talking about, did I miss anything? Yeah, we missed Jax tearing into that ass. I want to know what she was getting ready to say. So we see Daniel trying to get information and pretending that he's trying to get his sister into this particular facility, but he's really looking for JT's ex, Ebony Phillips, and we know that is Natasha's mom. And he finds out that she actually works at the facility as a lead counselor. So we head over to Mama Lou's, and of course we're in the backyard. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. They're playing Uno. Spencer is the only one not there. All of a sudden, out of the blue, Naima, she doesn't want to be bothered anymore. Kevin, he gets up to go get some more snacks. I don't know what that was all about, but I am most definitely keeping my good eye up on Kevin. You hear me? So Jax tells her she can't keep treating Kevin like that, and she brings up Paul, saying that he keeps trying to be him, but he'll never be him. So then Lewis, he goes into this whole spiel about families changing over time, and getting a new family member just means getting someone new to love you and for you to love them. And I'm like, Lewis, you're not slick. We see you. You're trying to plant the seeds in her head now. So when this whole baby situation comes up, you can resort back to this conversation. And Jax peeps what you're doing as well. But you did what needed to be done for the moment, and Naima was fine after that. She loves her dad for now. So we see Jax showing up for pastries for parents at Spencer's school, and she brings this box of cupcakes, and the lady is like, are they gluten-free? And she says, don't worry about it, I know you were busy. Lucy shows up with the exact same box of cupcakes, and she gives them this snarly look. So the two of them have a little friendly banter before realizing that they both smoke cigarettes, so they go outside and have a bonding moment. And they basically talk about moms doing it all, trying to work and balance the kids and this and that, and how the dads just show up to play parent, and everybody thinks that they're the best thing in the world. And we have Miss Gluten-Free Gloria coming out looking at them like, not only did y'all not bring cupcakes that were gluten-free, now you're out here smoking, polluting the air. And they basically give her all the smoke, pun intended. So we see Lewis showing up to Tony's house trying to take her to a doctor's appointment, when he then learns that Tony wants to do home birth. So they go back and forth about it, and they're trying to convince him with all these statistics and this and that and the other. And then the midwife tells him that after Tony's birth, Tony's going to need him to be there day and night with her and the baby, as if he is not a married man with a whole family. Now, Tony knew what she was doing. So he brings up Jax, and Tony goes off, basically telling him, get with the program or you get nothing at all. Now, instead of putting his foot down and telling Tony what needs to be said, he stands there looking defeated, as if he has to take that from her. But all he has to do is wait till this child is born and get joint custody, period. She can't keep the child from him. So back in the courtroom, we get Sally on the stand and we learn that her and Chanel are kind of like sisters growing up together after Chanel's parents passed. So Sally, she talks about the different plans that they had and the things that they were doing to prepare for Chanel to leave JT. But things start to unravel when Lucy gets up there to cross-examine her, and we find out that Sally has never actually seen JT lay a finger on Chanel, only get irate throwing glasses at the wall. So Lucy asks her, how does she know that JT was the one that caused the bruises that are in the photos? And Sally says that Chanel would not lie to her. So Lucy had to bring her back. Did you know about the affair with Adrian? And she said no, which further painted a picture for the jury that not only does Chanel steal sometimes, but she also keeps big secrets. So as Lucy pressed on, Sally ends up having this whole outburst saying that she was glad that it was JT and not Chanel, and that the SOB deserved to be unalived. Baby, when I tell you Corey was sitting over there so embarrassed, Sally was an epic fail up on that stand for the defense. So when they take Chanel back to her cell, she wonders where Baker is because someone is in her cell cleaning up blood up off the floor. So she wants to know what's going on. So the guard implied that Baker unalived herself because her court date got pushed back 9 months and she possibly didn't want to wait any longer. So we see Corey and Jax trying to go over their next strategy because Sally didn't help them out at all. Jax wants to get Rebecca Gray up on the stand, and Corey doesn't want to do that. He wants to focus on pushing Chanel harder, prepping her to get on the stand. Now we get this whole shower scene with Chanel where she's having all these different voices inside of her head, and you can see her like twitching, going in and out. And I still feel what I said a couple of episodes back, Chanel has multiple personalities. And we can see one of the more aggressive personalities is Tucker. That's the name she gave fake-ass Cleo, a.k.a. Baker, when she first encountered her. You could tell the difference in Chanel. When she first got into jail, she acted like she ran the place, like she's been there before. But when she's outside of the jail, we get a more meek and mild personality. And that could also explain why when she was out on bail and all the ladies was over at the house and Autumn was doing the saging, she was crying one minute and laughing the next, like just weird. And they're looking at her like, what the hell? Now, I'm not quite sure why we got the Baker scene. I don't know if they were trying to tell us that Tucker and Baker became lovers. They were close like that. Or the fact that maybe Tucker / Chanel / Pocahontas may just unalive herself before this is all over with. So after court, Jax, she goes to get Naima from Mama Lou's house. And of course, y'all know they're outside. And they have a conversation, and she tells her thanks for being nice to Naima about Paul. And Jax ends up telling her mom that she likes Kevin and that he seems normal. Mama Lou tells Jax that she's glad things are working out between her and Lewis, and not because Lewis is a good man, but because Jax is a good woman. And she tells her that she's proud of her, and they have a moment. So later on, we see Jax in the bed when Lewis, he comes in and he's jamming, reminiscing on a night he just had hanging out with his brother. You could tell he's drunk as a skunk, but he's feeling real good. Okay, cool. He lays down, and then all of a sudden he wants to have this pity party about Tony and this baby. And this is where I get annoyed, because this is what we're not going to do. Now, Jack, she's trying to get him something to eat, something to soak up all his liquor, I guess, some Pedialyte or whatever. He's like, I don't want it. And he says, I'm talking about the baby. So he goes on and on about he made this one mistake and now he's having a baby with somebody he barely knows. Like, first of all, Lewis, don't nobody want to hear that. At this point, Lewis, it is what it is. You did not completely lose your family behind this, because Jax is still there trying to support you. So you need to be a man and grow a pair and deal with your responsibilities, because quiet as it's kept, Tony didn't even tell you she was pregnant. She wasn't even checking for you to be the father. And since you had it in your spirit to not want to be a deadbeat out here in these streets, you need to take care of your responsibilities and stop crying about it. So then he makes this comment about he wished the baby would go away. And that is foreshadowing. And I'm wondering, did he tell Terrence about all of this? Because we're going to keep Terrence in our back pocket just in case something pops off with Tony later on down the line. And I'm starting to notice a pattern with Lewis that when he can't confront someone directly with certain things, he'll indirectly put a battery in someone else's back so they can come and do it for him. Now, I'm thinking that's why Terrence had to step to Jax the way he did, because Lewis couldn't do it. Now, he sat up here and he told Jax that Tony threatened him. Now, he already knows that this is getting ready to put that S on Jax's chest. And just like clockwork, she sprung into action. Oh, she threatened you? You already know what time it is. Now, I do realize that Lewis is drunk and his guilty conscience is really weighing heavy on him through this alcohol right now. But now he's begging for forgiveness and he's whining and crying. And Jax has to comfort him and hold him as if he's the victim. And she still hasn't even processed how she really felt about it. She just jumped right in like, I'm going to take this head on and deal with it. So in the next scene, we see Adrian finally going to see Chanel. And I'm a little confused by this whole visit because I thought he was in witness protection. So does that mean because Evan actually got arrested, he no longer has to be put in witness protection? Because I thought Evan was a gangster and a goon out here in these streets to where he could possibly have somebody on the outside to get Adrian, but I don't know. He said that he's sorry that he lied. I'm still confused. What did he actually lie about? Saying that the $30 million was his? That doesn't make sense to me. The whole money thing still is confusing when it comes to Adrian for me. And also, back in the Hotel Motel Holiday Inn when they were on the run, he told her that she wouldn't even be in this position if it wasn't for him. Like, what does that mean? Because he lied about the money and they were going to run away? Or was he actually the person that hit JT over the head? Like, what is it? Anyway, he comes in here talking about he cut a deal with the feds and that now he has 5 years probation and he got to pay fines and fees and how he got cut from the team, this and that and the other. He has no money. His assets are frozen. But then he has the audacity to propose to her behind the plexiglass. And she gives him this look like, are you kidding me? And I don't know if he's talking to Tucker, Pocahontas, or Chanel, but she just slightly nods her head yes, that she'll think about it, with tears in her eyes. So back over there with Jax and Lewis, it's the next morning and she has to sit down and have a talk with Lewis. She thanks him for being there with her throughout the whole Damon situation, and she lets him know she's walking through this journey with him and Tony and this baby, and it's not easy, and she sometimes wonder if she's making the right decisions, but she says she's showing through her actions that she'd rather do it with him than without him. Okay, cool. That's her choice. And she also lets him know that him continuously asking for forgiveness does not make her feel good. It makes him feel good. He says that she was right. He appreciated her and he can respect that. So since Sally effed up the thing, we got to get Rebecca Gray on the stand, which is what Jax wanted in the first place. So she is the clerk that works in the restraining order office. So when Lucy goes to cross-examine her, she tries to make it seem like there's no way that she should remember who Chanel was because she sees so many different people on a daily basis, times the year, blah, 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 blah. Which it doesn't even matter because the lady did say she saw her on TV because she was on the ESPY Awards. Now, if you think you see a celebrity type person, you're going to associate that with some tea and some gossip. So, of course, you would remember that person. But Mrs. Gray said that the reason she remembered Chanel was because she was scared and she didn't even file. She had tears in her eyes and she left alone with nothing. And those are the ones that she worries about the most. So apparently Rebecca Gray was a hit on the stand for the defense because Jax walked out gloating and Corey had to say she was right. So she then asked Corey, did he have any plans for tonight? He says he's just heading back to the office to continue to work. And Jax says she's just going to pick up the kids and have dinner with the family. So Corey brings up being professional and hoping he's not crossing the line, but he tells Jax that Lewis is a lucky man. She says that I'll pass along the message, and he was like, please don't. As much as I hate to say it, I think Jax will end up in Corey's arms eventually. So we go back over there to the county jail, and Chanel gets another visitor. This time it's Autumn, who hasn't set foot in the jail this whole entire time. So she comes in basically apologizing and wondering why Chanel didn't feel comfortable enough telling her what the hell was going on. So Chanel told Autumn it's really not that. It's the fact that JT really messed her up and made her feel small, like she was just a housewife, and convinced her that her friends thought they were better than her. And quiet as it's kept, going back to season 1, they did kind of have her on the outskirts of the circle, like, oh, if she wasn't my cousin type thing. Oh, she thinks she's your best friend. but she's sadly mistaken type attitude. So yeah, they did kind of treat her like that. So Autumn says that's not true at all. Everybody's messed up. Like, the only reason she's a therapist is because she's a head case herself. Sally is a mess, and Jax got kidnapped by her side piece. So basically, they're all messed up, and the two of them have a little laugh about it, and they share a moment. So when Jax goes to get Naima from school, she pulls up on Tony, basically taking up Lewis's light work, putting that S on her chest, protecting her family. So she confronts her about threatening to take Lewis's child away from him, which she cannot do. And she says that Lewis has rights and she can do this either one or two ways. The easy way would be for all of them to work together or go out and get her an expensive lawyer and face Jax in court again. And Jax was like, do you really want to see me in court again? And Tony was like, are you threatening me? Jax was like, no, I'm reminding you who I am. Jax Mofo Stewart. And Jax was like, if you think I fight hard for my friends, itch bay, wait till you see what I'll do for my family. And Tony was like, who do you think you're talking to? And that's when the doggone girls walk up. And Jax walks off like nothing ever happened. Nice seeing you, Tony. Then you see Tony grabbing the bottom of her stomach. I'm like, oh, Lord. Now, with all this going on, to me, it's just giving a setup for something to happen to Tony, the baby, or both. You have Lewis over there talking about he wished the baby was gone. He doesn't want it. Jax all in public making threats to her with the parents sitting around listening. It's just a lot going on. Mind you, she never did tell Corey. And then you got Terrence in the background because we don't know what Lewis told him. And he'll be damned if he allows somebody else to hurt his brother. So over at the DA's office, Lucy is having heart palpitations because Peter has won joint custody with their son, John. So we see Daniel waiting outside the rehab center when Ebony Phillips, played by Candy Keep a Bag Burris, comes up telling him, kick rocks, I don't talk to reporters. And he was like, look, let me introduce myself. We know that JT took Natasha from you when you were in rehab. We really need you to testify in this Chanel case and tell us everything you know about JT. So we get this little montage where we see Jax contemplating. She's cleaning up, but she's got a lot on her mind, you can tell. But she goes and she cuddles up with Lewis anyway. We see Mama Lou and Kevin. They're, again, outside, and they're dancing like they're so in love. We got Lucy and Corey both listening to the same broadcast talking about what went on in court over the week as they sip on their cognac or brandy or whatever it is. And basically the commentator is saying that Corey Cash has had a great week and Lucy Wargo was not looking too hot. So we know she is having a terrible week. She's losing in the courtroom. She's losing in the custody battle with Peter. I don't know, this lady is probably going to go ballistic sooner than later, okay? So Jack, she goes into Spencer's room to kind of tuck him in, if you will, and she's like folding up his little stuff up off the floor when his vape pen falls out. So, of course, now she has to deal with that. And in the last scene of the episode, we got Chanel asking to make a phone call. So when she makes the call, she's telling the person, look, I think that we've gone too far. We should finally go ahead and tell the truth. We then see that it's Sally she's talking to. And Sally is saying, okay, we'll talk in person. Don't say another word. And that's where the episode ends. Woo, child. Do you guys think that Sally has something to do with JT's unaliving? Did she actually lay the final blow, or did she just do some assisting after the fact? Was Terrence out of line for the way he approached Jax, and was Jax out of line for approaching Tony? And do you guys think something will happen to Tony? Drop down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts, theories, or predictions are. And as always, you guys, thanks for all of the support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.